Hello and welcome back to Red Zone Report. Our passion, your entertainment, new era.
Is
We
this live?
are the
We're
football
going.
psychotics. Yes, we are going. I am Jordan Rossell with my co-host here, Carlos Magdaleno, and we are your ultimate destination for all things Husker sports, college NFL football, all the latest sports news. We're your guys. We're here to talk about it, debate it, give us some topics. We are now live on three different platforms: Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, YouTube, and we are here to debate all your topics. We are live on Instagram at RZ RZ.report. Go give us a follow. Be in on all of our polls that we post. Give us some questions that you got. Respond. Give us your thoughts on all of our questions that we ask. Yeah, what do you got for us, Los?
So this week, episode 4, we're going to talk about the new rankings after
Yeah,
what went down this last weekend. Had some good
craziness.
matchups all over the college football slate. Then we're going to get into some Nebraska football, do our regular segments, studs and duds, and our 6 and 60, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
Keep it pretty simple.
I like it. I like short and sweet to the point. Again, RZ.reports on Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe to our page. You can hear all of our latest episodes on there. Here with episode 4 as we get into the first segment. Crazy week in the college football world. A lot of shakeups happening. A lot of good games. Great day to watch some college football. The day started with Alabama and South Carolina being a dogfight to the end. I thought it was kind of over when South Carolina went for 2 at the very end, and they didn't get it.
Yeah, I
I
thought
don't know.
I turned the game off because
I
they didn't get it.
Yeah, I didn't turn it off, but I stopped watching, and then all of a sudden I look up, and they recovered the onside kick, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's not over." But they did. They didn't really do much with it. South
Threw an
Carolina
interception, and that was the game.
interception, exactly. So yeah, Clemson kind of handled Wake Forest. Texas, Oklahoma, what started to be a pretty good game. Oklahoma got out on an early lead, 3-0. And then Texas kind of just took over. They
How
scored
do you feel about that one?
34 unanswered. How do I feel? I'm a little disappointed, not gonna lie. Yeah, I feel like Oklahoma is it's it's a disappointing year for Oklahoma. It's still early in the season. I get it. They fell out of the top 25, which is unfortunate. Obviously, Texas is a good team. Playing with a freshman quarterback, he's going through some growing pains. Kind of just take it to the heart a little bit. It's kind of depressing, but we still have the old Huskers to rely on. I feel like the Huskers are having a better season than the Oklahoma Sooners, record-wise anyway. But yeah, I could go on and on about that. Penn State, USC, pretty darn good
Good
game.
game.
Pretty
Good
darn good
game.
game. I was kind of hoping for USC to pull it out,
And they were
but
up 20-6, and they
yeah,
let it go.
they did. In Cali, so got some issues to grow through on that for the USC Trojans.
Yeah.
Pretty good win over Pitt, 17-16 over Cal. Cal's a pretty good team. Illinois Purdue was an interesting one.
I
I
didn't
would
watch
not have
it.
expected that to go in overtime.
I didn't watch it, but I saw the score, and I was like, well, what happened here?
Yeah, I don't know. Purdue did not look very good the first couple weeks, and then they come and play a pretty darn good Illinois team and take them to overtime, and Illinois barely sneaks it out, 50-49. So,
Yeah, and
pretty good game
overtime
there.
too, huh?
Yeah. Um, BYU, Arizona. I thought it was going to be a better game than that, and BYU kind of just took it to them, 41-19.
Yeah, they got some dogs on their team. They
That was
they
a
doing their job.
that was a shock for sure. Georgia took care of business, obviously.
BYU.
Tennessee, Florida was a pretty good game. Tennessee came out in overtime. We had a lot of games going to overtime this week,
A lot.
and they were
And
some
if
pretty,
not, if they weren't in overtime, it was very close.
yeah. And so Tennessee snuck it out against Florida, unranked, kind of been a season saving game win right there for Tennessee. If they would have
Yeah.
dropped that one, I don't know where they would be right now.
They'd be closer to 20 than to 10.
Yeah, that is for sure. And then we had Ole Miss LSU, another game that went to overtime.
Loved that game.
That
That was
that was
electric.
that was fun to watch. I mean, Jackson Dart in his post game conference said we have to win out from this game going forward. So he obviously has some high expectations for that team. Then Iowa State had a pretty good win over West Virginia.
Iowa State making a statement in the
they're
top
hot.
25.
Yeah. Then K-State, Colorado. That was a pretty darn good game to watch as well. It kind of came down to the wire. Colorado they were playing with two or three wide receivers out per pretty much a good portion of the game. Travis Hunter left in the first half
Yeah,
with a rib injury, I believe.
shoulder.
Shoulder did not return. But yeah, that was a pretty good game. K-State came out on top, which was good to see. And then Boise State kind of took care of business against Hawaii again. Ashton Junty had a phenomenal
Hey,
game.
he's gonna win the Heisman.
That's a hot
You
take
bet
there
on it.
too. I mean, there's a lot of
Bet on it.
guys that are making their case.
I saw now Dylan Gabriel's at like 4.
He had a good game. That was my last game that I was going to touch on. Was the game of the week, probably Ohio State, Oregon. What a game! I mean, it did not go into overtime, but man, should it have?
If Will Howard wasn't their quarterback, maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, that was a back and forth game. I think I saw there was 12 lead changes in that game, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
I believe that. I mean,
It was back
it
and
was back
forth.
and forth.
What a game to see. But yeah, it was a crazy week in the top 25. Great to see that we have 3 of the 4 teams in the top 4 that are Big Ten schools. I don't know if we've ever seen that in the college football playoff era, having 3 of the top 4 teams.
I
We have
know, I
Oregon at
know.
2,
At
Penn
one
State at
point,
3, Ohio State at 4. So,
I know. I remember when it was a few years back, but Iowa and Penn State were both in the top 3. I don't know who else was there, but I think that was probably the closest season to it.
yeah, I mean, you talk about SEC and Big Ten kind of taking control of, college football. That kind of brings me to another thought that I had. The Big Ten and SEC had a meeting this last week about
Big meeting.
the future of college football. And they were talking about having 4 automatic bids into the college football playoff. That'd be 4 teams that get an automatic bid no matter what to the college football playoff. And then I mean, it's not limiting the Big Ten or SEC to 4 teams. There could be more teams. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on the Big Ten and SEC kind of taking over? And what do you think is going to happen? And what do you think would be the best for college football? Is it, an expansion to more teams in the playoff? Is it, what are your thoughts on that?
I think I see both sides. I think going more expansion, you give more teams opportunity, but if you want to stick to college football being college football, I think it needs to stay, 12, 14. If it gets any bigger than that, I mean, everything I think is going to kind of crumble. What happens to bowl games? Bowl games are really nothing anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, they're already starting to be like that with the transfer portal, and that's if you didn't know that the transfer portal is now from 45 days to 30 days. So I mean, that's a big step
yeah,
in a way,
cutting
and
down
it's
on that.
obviously it's in the process of getting better, and hopefully it keeps getting better. But I think, yeah, I think if they keep trying to change it, it's gonna get worse because it's not gonna be what the college football that we
Not
know.
true
It's
college
not.
football. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, if they do that, you take away the BYU's, the Boise States, the Pitts, the SMU's, those teams that are making a run this year. You kind of take those out of the picture, and what do you do with those teams? I mean,
Exactly, but like that's where I see like both sides. It's just like
yeah,
I mean, I see the point of, giving more teams a chance and because I think more teams want to fight for more than just a bowl game. And I think that's
yep,
why players, when they transfer, they do it before the bowl game because it doesn't mean nothing to them.
right.
But I
What
mean, it's
good what good does it do Alabama in a bowl game if they were to happen to not make the college football playoff? Let's just say what if, and they end up playing SMU in a bowl game. What good does that do for Alabama moving
it don't.
forward? It doesn't
It
do
don't.
anything.
It's just, it's more real, just really just like unrealistic. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's just like, who wants to see a non-conference game at a bowl game?
Right. And
Nobody.
and that's what I get into if you put SMU through 4 college football game four back-to-back games. Like they have to make it through four games to, to essentially win a national championship. Are
Yeah,
they making it through all four?
I doubt it.
That's what
I
I'm saying.
doubt it.
Like,
I mean, well, because when you watch games, when you watch teams like that, and they play, they play 5 games. They start out 5-0, then they got players hurt, and then next thing you know, they lose 4 in a row.
yeah,
I think their depth is a real problem. But like in Alabama, their three guy is a four,
four, yeah,
3 or 4 star. I mean,
right. And I mean that kind of leads into what else my other thought was that the NIL is kind of changing the game where Matt Rule kind of touched on this. The powerhouses that you see, the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the Clemsons, the Georgias, they are not as much of a powerhouse anymore because of the NIL. And
yeah, and you
somebody's
see it.
somebody's going to get offered $1 million to go play at, SMU, and they're going to start at SMU, or they're going to be
Yeah,
offered $1 million to go play at Ohio State to be the second or third string. What are they going to
and
choose?
that's what's changing the games
Yeah,
because when players have the option to like go anywhere, they can stay in the proximity to home and they can still make that kind of money. They might be the first 5 star there, but
yeah,
that upcoming year they might get another 2 4 stars. And you see it like with Vandy and Boise State and BYU, and
yeah,
BYU's been good for some time now, but they've had their seasons. But you see it like with these teams coming up, and you see it like with Northern Illinois putting their best game up against Notre Dame, and they won.
yeah.
When was the last time we seen a game like that?
I mean, and it's good for college football. I mean, I feel like NIL definitely has its flaws, but it is good for college football in that aspect of spreading out the talent. I feel like, the future of college football is going to come down to obviously NIL and the coaching staffs that these teams have moving forward. And I think really good teams need to start looking at, you know, potential NFL coaches that are wanting to come down to those college teams to develop these players. I mean, if you have let's just keep going with that SMU team. If you have two former NFL coaches that are willing to come down and coach at SMU, that's going to attract a lot of guys, let alone the NIL that gets brought into that school. Like that
Yeah, and
could
they're in a good
change a school.
location. They're in Texas. I mean,
Right.
they have everything they need, but
Yeah.
also like I think another good example is like Florida State. Look at their team last year. They have all these players.
Yep.
They lose all of them. Then what? I mean, because Mike Norvell's not a bad coach,
No, he's not.
but then you bring in however many players through the transfer portal, but no chemistry.
I mean, you touching on that, you're saying Colorado all over that. I mean,
Yeah, I mean that's the best example you can get. I mean,
your
Kyle
turnover
Lowry's
rate
got it.
on a roster is insane at Colorado. And that's where I feel like, they have the NFL coaching, but they don't necessarily have the NIL and they don't have the team morale to, gather
Yeah.
around and be together and one.
Yeah, I
You know what
think
I mean?
they're all just kind of playing for themselves when they play for
Yeah,
Dion. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think that's more
that's
realistic. I
it's
mean,
very
people
realistic. Yeah, yeah.
just
I mean, we can continue to touch on this throughout the next couple episodes because I think it's going to become more and more of a topic. But we will, move on to the next segment here in preparing for Indiana. Obviously, a big game this week, big noon kickoff in Indiana. Yeah, it's a big game. It's a must win for the Skurs to keep it rolling. Got a gauntlet. It's a big test for obviously our offense and defense, both sides of the ball to show what they've got against a pretty good Indiana team. Obviously, they come into this game at number 16, ranked in the top 25. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this, Carlos?
with
We
Indiana
open as
being at
six
home,
and a
it's going to
half
be.
point dogs.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a little bit advantage. They're motivated. They got a lot going into this game. They're ranked 16. It's been a long time since I've seen them even in the top 25.
6-0.
6-0.
Yeah,
But I think the key for Nebraska to win this game is going to be stopping their pass game. I think is most thing getting to the
yeah,
quarterback. Don't let him have time in the pocket because he's only been sacked 5 times this season. I think with them being at 108, and their strength of schedule is going to play a big part of this game. And I think Nebraska's defense has the chance to really expose them. I think that's what's going to happen. I think Ty Nash and James Williams. I think they're going to dominate the line and the trenches, and Nebraska's going to be there to play. And I think ultimately Nebraska's defense is just going to expose them.
Yeah, I mean, I think their quarterback is good. He makes some plays, and I think it's going to be one of the best quarterback play that we've seen. But yeah, I don't think that they've played a defense to our caliber, which I think is our advantage. Hopefully, we can get to them. It's going to be a real test for our secondary because obviously they're kind of a pass first. I wouldn't say they're pass first. Maybe they're a pretty balanced team, but I feel like they're going to be successful at, if anything, they would be successful at throwing it on our defense.
Yeah, the thing I think because their offense pretty much beats us on all facets of the game and offense.
Yeah,
And I mean, the numbers, stats, rankings, 6-0, it's all, I think it's all deceiving,
yeah, it
really.
is.
I think
Because
it's
I mean,
deceiving.
what is their best game? I mean, what's their best win? Looking at their schedule, I
It's
mean,
either UCLA and or Northwestern, and that's
yeah, I mean, they beat UCLA 42-13. UCLA is a 1-4 team.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Northwestern, they beat 41-24. Northwestern's 2-3. So like it's just what do they win?
And every game before that was non-conference games.
Right.
You know, they
Yeah.
weren't good. I mean,
Yeah.
no, they didn't play Maryland, I don't think.
They played Maryland. They
They
played
did?
Maryland. Yeah.
Okay. I think they beat them pretty good
Yeah,
too.
they played Maryland. They beat them 42-28. So,
But also I think Northwestern just beat Maryland. So
yeah. It's kind of odd. I mean, I feel like they have a lot of hype around them, obviously being 6-0. With all the offensive stats they've had. But I feel like one of the advantages that we have is their D line has no depth, and I think we need to recognize that early, and really wear them down, make it a long game, control the time of possession, and really just ground and pound game to open up the pass. They're gonna have to bring people into the box to help stop our running backs, and we just really need a running back to emerge this game,
yeah,
like we've been
we
talking
got
about. And what better time right now than to be a 6-0 team, a big noon kickoff, and just off the bye week. I mean, it's going to be a big game, and it's kind of a must win to see where we're at and who we're going to be the rest of the season.
yeah, and
Um,
I think this game is really important because we get ranked and then we play Illinois. You know, it's a top 25 matchup, and then we lose.
yep,
We fight our way back. We're one spot away from being back in there. We got to win this game. We got to get back in there. You know, you don't want to be 5-2 going into Ohio State.
yep, no,
I mean, this is a must win.
it's a must
We
win.
want to be back in there. We want this game against Ohio State going forward to be like we want as much momentum as we can get. And I mean, we if we don't win this game, it's going to be a rough go from here on
It
out.
is, yeah. Um, we will note that we need one more win to be bowl eligible. So that'll be, exciting to watch as we go on in these next couple of games. And I will say that the one thing I feel like it's going to be a four-quarter game because of the fact that I heard that they have scored 80 points in the fourth quarter this season. That is a crazy number.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they have not given up any points in the first quarter. So I mean, that's a pretty good team taking care of business. Hopefully, we can be the team that stops that and changes those stats. Obviously,
Well,
so
I think Nebraska definitely can be. I
yeah,
mean, we got a top 10 defense. I mean, it's just
we need
we got
to
to get to the quarterback, and I
yeah
think if we get to the quarterback, it'll say everything in that it can.
we
So
need to go into this game thinking that it's going to be a four-quarter game and it's going to
yeah,
be a
yeah,
dogfight, and we've
definitely.
got to play four quarters.
Yeah, Nebraska can't go into the game thinking, okay, you know, they're 6-0, but they haven't beat anybody.
Right.
No, they got to go into this game thinking, okay, this team's 6-0. They could very easily beat us, but we're not going to let them.
Yep. Yep. Um, with the big noon kickoff, I see they're a probably a pretty good crowd. I'd like to see. I mean, I think that the Nebraska fans will travel pretty well to Indiana, and I feel like the 11 o'clock kickoff will play a factor towards us being not a night game. So that'll be good. Yeah, but I mean, it's going to be a good game. I feel like I'm definitely excited off a bye week. Hopefully, we took the time to heal up and get ready for this big game and kick off the second half of the season the way we want it to against a pretty good team in Indiana. So yeah, just kind of taking care of the little things and avoiding those missed field goals, blocked punts. Those are going to be a thing we have to shore up in a game like this. That's probably going to come down to the wire. So hopefully we can
Yeah.
do that off a bye week and get a W here. So if you don't have anything else, we're going to move on to the next segment here.
Next segment.
6 and 60, one of our favorites that we like
Hey.
to do. We will give each other 6 games and we will go through and predict the winner of the game and why we maybe kind of think that. And our running total will be displayed here above. And right now, we are both sitting at 12 wins and 6 losses. So we are even. Carlos made a comeback last week. I went 5-1. He went 6-0. So it's going to be a tight race. Carlos, I will let you, ask me first, and we'll go through and we'll see what we got. We will have a timer displayed here. All right, I am ready whenever you are. I've got the timer ready here. We'll display it on the screen, and whenever you
So
go.
here's our 6 and 60. I'm gonna give Jordan some questions starting now. Michigan, Illinois.
Michigan, Illinois. This is gonna be a good game. Illinois barely squeaked one out against Purdue. I feel like they're finally showing who they really are. Michigan, not so good still, but I think they get this one. Michigan wins it.
Okay, Colorado, Arizona.
Ooh, another tough one. It is in Arizona, so I'm gonna have to go with Arizona. Arizona beats Colorado.
Georgia at Texas.
Georgia at Texas. This could be the game of the year. I'm gonna have to go Texas.
Okay. UNLV, Oregon State.
UNLV at Oregon State. I like the Vegas boys. I'm going to go with the Vegas boys at UNLV over Oregon State.
All right, Miami at Louisville. Good
Louisville
game.
takes it. Miami. They're not good.
All right. Arizona State and Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. All right, I just wrapped up, and we're going to ask Carlos the questions now. We'll have the timer displayed here on the screen. And are you ready, Carlos? All right, Carlos. Your first game is Alabama at Tennessee.
Alabama at Tennessee. I think Alabama gets revenge this year. Alabama.
All right. South Carolina at Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's missing some guys. I go South Carolina.
All right. LSU, Arkansas.
LSU, they're on a roll. LSU.
All right. Kentucky at Florida.
Florida, I think Kentucky takes it.
Okay. Oklahoma State at BYU.
This one, I think, is going to be an upset game. I think Oklahoma State goes in there. Ollie Gordon has a good game.
I like it.
I
I like
it.
to hear it. I like to hear it. Your last game with time to go, Notre Dame at Georgia Tech.
I think Georgia Tech takes it at home. I think
All
they
right.
get it done. I think
Upset
it's going to
here.
be a good game, though.
All right. You
That's
had
it.
some time to spare here. Well, that
Easy
wraps up
dubs. Easy
segment
dubs. Another
3.
6-0 week. Another 6-0 week.
Yeah.
Jordan's going to go 0-6. I go up by six games this week. It's going to be easy dubs.
No. That wraps up segment 3. We go on to segment 4, our studs and duds for the week. Carlos, I will let you start first with your studs and duds. Who do you got?
So my stud this week is going to be Ollie Gordon. As a
like
matter
it.
of fact, I just talked about Oklahoma State. I think he finally has a breakout game, and they take BYU and they go out and win the game.
They need a game. They've been down the last couple games. They need to win one
some.
here
They
to
need a
get back
bounce
on the right track.
Yeah.
I like that pick. My stud this week, hate to be biased to Nebraska, but Dylan Raiola is going to show off at Indiana, and he's going to have a breakout game. He's going to go for more than 200 passing yards. He's going to throw the ball all over the yard. Isaiah Nair, Jamal Banks, Corey Barney, Thomas Fidone. They're all going to get in the game in some way, and he's going to have over 200 yards. And he's going to have a stud. He's going to have a studly week.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. So I'll ask you, who's your dud?
My dud this week, kind of a hot topic here, but it's in a big game. Ryan Williams is going to be a dud. They are playing at Tennessee, Alabama at Tennessee. And I just think that, Tennessee has it's their time to shine, and I feel like this is their moment that they can really make a turn for the season and make or break their season. So
It would be huge for them.
it'd be a big win for them, and I think they're going to put their best guy on Ryan Williams, obviously, and they're going to shut him down, and he's not going to have a very good week. Calling it now.
And it was so my take is completely opposite of what you just said.
All right, let's hear it.
My dad, Nico Iamaleava, he's gonna feel the pressure of Alabama's defense.
All right,
He's young still.
big game for him.
It's a big game, and I think this one is gonna really test him. And I think Alabama gets the best of him.
The lights are going to be too bright.
I think Ryan Williams is gonna be a stud this week.
Oh, come on, come on.
You
We're
just
gonna
can't
have
bet
to.
against that man. You
We're
can't bet
gonna have
against
to
that.
talk about
Not
this
even
one next
man. You
week.
can't even bet against that kid
Yeah,
for all
yeah.
awesome.
He is putting up some great numbers, but I mean, every once in a while you got to have a bad week. So I'm calling it.
Yeah.
Tennessee's going to take it. You think Tennessee is going to have a dud of a week? We'll have to touch on this one next week. So that wraps up segment 4, studs and duds. Now we
Little bit
move on
louder
to
now, shout. Little bit louder now, shout.
now we will move on to our
Sorry.
poll question that was posted a couple days ago for you guys to answer and give us your thoughts on our Instagram at rz.report.
Report.
And our question for the week was, what team this week will fall out of the top 10? And I can think of 4 teams right now, but obviously there's maybe some other ones that could fall out based on your guys' thoughts. We'll kind of go through those teams right now based on conversations that Carlos and I have had. And I think our 4 teams that could fall out right now this week after the games would be Miami at number 6, Alabama at number 7, LSU at number 8, and Iowa State at number 9. What are your thoughts there, Los? Who would you take to fall out?
I don't know. Obviously, if Alabama loses, they're going to like 12.
Yep.
Iowa State, I can't see them losing, and because they're on such a momentum high right now. They're just they're doing their thing, and I
Yeah.
can't see that happening this week. I think Miami has a chance to, very good chance to. I mean, they're barely getting by every week, but I'm not going to bet against the man Cam Ward. So I'm gonna have to say LSU because they're barely getting by, but they're also going to be playing a good Arkansas team this week.
Yeah. At Arkansas.
At Arkansas, I think Arkansas can. They just did it to Tennessee. I think they could do it again.
Yeah. I mean,
Why not?
I feel like we've got some pretty good games here at 6, 7, and 8. 9 and 10 could go either way, but 6, 7, and 8, those games are going to be pretty tough. I would have to go with the Miami game. I feel like Miami's going to fall out. They are
Don't bet against that man Cam Ward.
They are playing at Louisville, and Louisville needs to come back and turn around their season. And this is their time. I don't think they're not living up to the hype. Like you said, they're squeaking by games, and they're just barely getting by. So I'd have to go with Miami, but I will say that Alabama and LSU do have a chance to fall out as well. So next week we will touch on your guys' thoughts on who you guys thought were going to fall out of the top 10, and
can only pick one.
Yeah, only one. So we're gonna obviously touch on that next week when we go over the top 25. That kind of closes it out for our last section.
One more question.
Yeah, what do you got?
Score prediction, Nebraska, Indiana. What's the score?
Ooh, score prediction, Nebraska, Indiana. Whew, that's a tough one. I think I'm going to go 27-17. 27-17 Huskers. I like it. 10-point win over undefeated Indiana. What's your prediction? What do you got?
I say
we're opening as 6.5 dogs, just so you guys know.
Say we cover the spread. I'm going to say 27-24.
27-24. Close.
Yeah, close game. It will be close, I think. For some reason, Matt Will loves these close games, and I don't know why. And he loves them, and he likes being in them.
He
But as
does.
fans, we're tired of them.
Whew, I know.
But that's just the way it is, and that's my prediction.
I know. All right, and our last question before we close out this week's episode. What is your score prediction for the Georgia-Texas game? Texas
Georgia.
opens as a 4-point favorite against Georgia.
4, huh?
Yes.
4 points. Say I take Texas. I think the score is going to be 31-28.
Ooh, I like that.
Georgia covering the spread, but Texas still winning.
Okay. I like that. I was thinking more of a 31-17. I think Texas really comes
Whoa.
out. Yeah. I think
Hot.
Texas yeah, I mean, I don't know if Georgia's really I don't know. I'm not bought in on Georgia yet. I will say that Texas, they have looked good in just about every game that they've played. And we'll get to see here. Obviously, it's in Texas, so got a little advantage there.
I think I will say, if Texas really wants to win this game, they have to start hot.
Oh, yeah.
Last week, they didn't start hot against Oklahoma. If they do that to Georgia against Georgia,
It's going to be a dogfight.
it's not going to be what they want it to be.
No.
So, that's
Yeah.
all I got.
I will agree there.
So, guys, that's a podcast.
Yeah.
Is
that what you call a podcast?
What you call a podcast? We went over our top 20, the new top 25. Went over Nebraska. We did our regular 6 and 60, our studs and duds. Let us know what you guys think. And last, we gave our score predictions for obviously the Nebraska game, biggest game of the week, Texas and Georgia. We will also have polls up of games this week. So go to our Instagram story, obviously at rz.report. Check that out and give us a follow, like our pictures.
Yeah. And again, our Instagram is rz.report, and we are now available on all 3 streaming, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So go give some subscriptions.
Do it.
And,
subscribe, like, comment.
Show us some love. And that's all we got for this episode. We'll see y'all next week. A little bit louder now. A little bit louder now.